Hey guys, Whitney here. Welcome to our Passive Investing Made Simple Bootcamp. We do this bootcamp live once a month to help you learn a vital skill that will help you scale your passive investing real estate portfolio. And so if you haven't done so already, check out passiveinvestingwithwhitney.com. You can go there and sign up for all of our master classes, our boot camps, as well as get access to my calendar if you want to talk about all things passive real estate and how we can help you meet your passive investing goals here at passiveinvesting.com. Now, today we are going to dive in and we're going to talk about the math behind how you can actually retire in 7 years using passive real estate. Now, for some people, it will be retiring sooner than 7 years. Other people, they're going to be able, take a little bit slower path, but I want you to see that the numbers actually work. And that works whether you're investing in debt or equity. So we're going to break down both of those numbers here today. Now, if this is the first time you and I are meeting, again, my name is Whitney Elkins Hutton, and this is the whole reason why I invest in passive real estate. So I can spend time with my crazy crew here. We love traveling. We love the outdoors. These are just a couple pictures from our trip to Glacier National Park this summer where we hung out for a couple weeks. Anyways, I started off real estate investing in 2002 completely by accident. And that was a decent foray into real estate for me because it really it taught me that I can unhook the money I create in the world, the value I create in the world with how much time it actually takes to create it. Now, I don't know if you are working full-time, if you're a W-2 employee, or maybe you're a partner in a business and you're working crazy hours and you might be making good money, but you just can't see the path on how investing in passive real estate will help you unlock those golden handcuffs. That's what we're going to tackle today. Now, just to clue you in on some of my results, I've scaled over 600 multifamily units in our portfolio over the past 22 years, 23 years, and over 200 self-storage units in our portfolio and 15 express car washes. Now, some of those are directly owned. Others are in partnership, in general partnership with people. And then others, I would say a sizable chunk of our portfolio, maybe about 50%, is actually partnerships in passive investing deals. And it's when we started investing in passive real estate deals that, one, we were able to scale our portfolio quicker. We were able to get greater diversification, across other asset classes. I'm not a guru in self-storage or in car washes necessarily. I love partnering with the gurus in this area. My bread and butter is in residential real estate. But because we have scaled a plan to invest passively and have doubled down on this plan, we now have the ability to have 100% choice and freedom on how we spend our time. And the cool thing here is I'm doing exactly what I love doing, which is teaching people how to take their number one resources, their time and attention, and point them in the right direction so they can get the freedoms in the world that they want. And we can help you do that here at passiveinvesting.com. Here are some cool numbers for you to think about. We've accrued over $331 million in our rehab wallet lending arm of our portfolio, 1.4 billion assets under management, and very strong returns to our investors. Now, what we are going to tackle today, we are going to go over some math. And so, but nothing here should be construed as financial, legal, or tax advice. This is for your education. So I want you to take this back. I want you to repeat some of these models. I want you to do the math for yourself and then consult with your team before making any investment decision. Now, some people want to connect with me directly. They want to know how we can start working together and helping them meet their passive goals. I wanted to put this information in front of you early rather than making you wait until the end of today's boot camp. But here's a QR code. If you're not already on our passive investing list, you can join me at passiveinvestingwithwhitney.com, and I've got some free goodies for you there. And What we're going over today is actually, some of this math is actually in my book, Money for Tomorrow. And you can get that at biggerpockets.com. You can also get it on amazon.com as well. But in this book, Money for Tomorrow, How to Build and Protect Generational Wealth, I go over this mathematical model that allowed us to scale our portfolio and achieve financial freedom. Okay. All right, let's kick it off at the beginning. All right, this is interactive. Okay, this isn't just me talking to you. This is you and I having a conversation over the web. And so I want you to go to your chat box or your Q&A box and let me know, where are you at today? Are you currently and let's put it in the chat box so I can see it. Are you currently an employee? Are you a full-time investor? Are you somewhere in the middle? Because this isn't just a black or white thing. This is a sliding scale. I want you to tell me, where on your passive investing journey between employee and investor are you? Okay, we got some people that are just on the W-2 side wanting to get started. Other people that are somewhere in between the W-2 and the passive real estate. One person here is just like, I'm about halfway there, employee and investor both. Okay, that's awesome. And here's the thing, while I'm going to show you the math in order to actually be able to leave your job if you wanted to, or leave your business if you wanted to, here's the thing. You might be like me. You might still want to contribute to the world and be involved in the workforce. That is totally fine. But you have choice on how you spend your time, how you create that impact in the world. And that is very powerful. And we want to do that for you. Okay. So people don't decide their futures. They decide their habits that decide their futures. I'm giggling because somebody said, I envy your portfolio. Okay, again, those are just numbers. We're gonna teach you how to achieve that with far fewer units. Okay. And so really this quote is by F.M. Alexander. If you are a follower of the One Thing and All, the book that Jay Papasan and Gary Keller wrote, it's a very powerful book. It was originally written for their Keller Williams real estate team. I encourage you to pick up the book because it is all about how do we stay prioritized and not over functioning in areas, but how do we do the right thing at the right time? Okay. And it's boiling down to how can we create habits? And that's really, at the end of the day, yes, there's the math and you need the money and all that to invest in passive real estate, but you have to build a habit around investing. Okay. And there's multiple habits, and we cover those habits in the boot camp. Habits are like goal setting, understanding your risk tolerance and timeline, vetting operators, markets, and deals, tracking your portfolio. These are all habits that you have to have in order to be a successful real estate investor, passive real estate investor too. So if you don't have those habits built, that's a great place to start. Okay. And, a lot of us, we have these habits within our businesses, the businesses we work in as employees. But when it goes to our home life, we want to just kind of like take a breath, take a break, spend time with the family and kids, which is a fantastic. Okay. And we can't forget that we need those habits that make the business endeavors that we're involved in so successful, make them so successful, will also make our investing career very successful as well. Okay. So a big habit to start off with is learning to ask yourself these three questions often. Okay. At least once a year. I suggest once a quarter until you have got your path dialed in, you've got momentum and you're well on your way. But really, we're dealing initially from moving from employee to full-time investor. We're dealing with psychology here, right? A lot of investors, when they're first starting out and they're learning how to invest passively, or maybe they're picking up their own rental real estate, they are like, man, this is hard. I gotta manage all these things at one time. Even as a passive investor, I gotta learn how to, vet the operator, the market, and deal. I gotta go talk to operators. And now I gotta look at all these deals and figure out which one matches my goals. Like, that's a lot of work. You know what? I'm gonna go back to my day job where I get a paycheck. Okay. That's pushing the easy button. Okay. You're not here to push the easy button. So that these 3 questions, and let's do this live, guys. I'm the only one that can see your answers. I want you to go to the chat box and I want you to put in the chat box, what do you want? Let's answer the first question first. What do you want? When you're thinking of making this transition of employee to full-time investor, what do you want? Okay, most of us start naming a dollar amount. We want $10,000 a year, $15,000, maybe not a year, but like a month coming in. I love it. Okay, the first person that chimed in said freedom of time. I love that. Okay, you're nailing the freedom. Okay, and that's what we want to get down to. What freedom are you really after here? Okay, somebody put in money, money, money. Yes. Financial freedom is a tool that will unlock the other freedoms. What are you truly after here? Okay. So let's think a little bit deeper on this. Do you want to have more choice in your world? Do you want to have more time? Do you want to be location independent? Do you want some sort of blend of that? Do you want to, do you want to create a foundation in the world, or a nonprofit or something like that? Think about what you want. And then let's attach an emotion to it. Okay. Because we are emotionally driven creatures that operate on logic. Whereas a lot of times we try to operate just the opposite. We're trying to be logical creatures that are a tad bit emotional at times. We're actually the other way around. So let's tap into that force. What emotion? Why do you want this? What's that feeling that you're trying to achieve? If when you become a full-time investor, or at least have the ability to be a full-time investor, what emotion will that trigger for you? For me, I'll share. The emotions I'm after is I want to feel light. I mean, light coming in, I want to feel light. I want to be healthy in my body. I want my energy in my relationships to be light. I want to feel connected with people. Okay. And I want to feel strong. Those are the emotions. That's how I know, like, if I'm doing the right thing. What are your emotions? Put those in the chat box. Ooh, somebody said purpose-driven life. I love that. That's what you want. What emotion does that give you? That's the second layer. Oh, to love and be loved. I love that. I love that. Okay. Now, when you think of what you want, why do you want? Now we got to think about who do you have to become to get that? Okay, this is where we're breaking down what mindset do you need to have? What skills do you need to acquire? Who do you need in your network to achieve those? Okay. So, if you're going to make this big shift from employee to full-time investor, you're going to have to reorient your whole mindset on how you earn money and how you contribute to the world. We got to unhook your identity from your job. Okay. I know for me, my identity was tied to my job for a long time. I was like, I am somebody who dabbles in real estate. I am not a real estate investor. Okay. I'm a public health worker. I love public health, right? Okay, so we have to think about that mindset. Then we have to think about logically, what are the skills? And that's what we teach here in the boot camp. What are those tangible skills the gaps we need to fill in for you to actually achieve your goal? Is it learning how to set the goal? Is it learning how to create that investor thesis? Is it, learning how to vet appropriately? Okay, is it learning how to network in order to, find those operators that are going to help you achieve your goal? And then who in your network do you need to have? I want you to go to the chat box and write down one thing between mindset, skills, and network. If you could do one thing, solve one thing in the next month, what would be the one thing that would make your investing easier? Oh, somebody says, I need to learn how to take mindset or update my mindset, take calculated risks, leverage good debt. Another person said, I need to join some local real estate investment groups. Awesome. Okay. build on that, okay? We all need to make improvements in all three areas consistently and persistently in order to get to the next level. Okay, so let me illustrate this for you. If you're just starting off, we have somebody here that was like, oh, I am just a W-2 employee. I haven't been in my first investment at all. Great. The mindset, skills, and network to get into your first investment, you're going to need to update that by your 5th and 10th and 15th investment. Okay, so we have to continue to come back to these questions. Ooh, have a mindset which embraces growing my network. A lot of people think that networking is like a dirty word. Okay, networking is just like, how can we create win-wins, between two people meeting? Okay, so here are some things to think about. Okay, who do you have to become? Your mindset. Okay, unhook that identity from your job. Learn how to take calculated risk. Learn how to fear set. Okay, there's if you Google fear setting by Tim Ferriss, there's a great model there because a lot of people are really scared right now to go into a passive deal. Okay, I heard an analogy one time that says everybody is afraid of becoming the homeless person on the street. Okay, but really in reality, that is something that we can actually fear stop well before that would ever happen. Okay, we have an innate fear as humans of being ostracized from a group. Okay, but even if a deal goes sideways or south, that generally won't happen. But how can we risk mitigate and fear set that? Look at that model from Tim Ferriss, fear setting. Okay, another thing about mindset, when we're talking about scaling your real estate portfolio, especially passive investing portfolio, so many times I'm talking to an investor and they're like, I have $500,000 to deploy and I want to be financially free by the end of the year. That might be doable. Another person might say, I have $200,000 to deploy and I want to be financially free in 3 months. Okay, here's the thing. We want to fall in love with the journey of investing and again, make it a habit. We want to have that cathedral thinking here, meaning that we don't just have a bundle of money that we're going to deploy and never do anything else with it again. Because remember, those investments are going to make investment babies. Okay, and we're going to have to redeploy those investment babies in order for them to grow. So we need to fall in love with the journey of investing. Right? And then have that cathedral thinking, meaning that we are building for the long term. Okay, so we need investments that service today, investments that are going to service in 10 years, and then, have a plan for like that, 15 and 20-year horizon as well. Some skills that you might need, tracking expenses and income. This is the #1 skill that most investors fail on. Okay, I have yet to meet an investor that has perfect tracking of their income, their expenses, and their portfolio. Okay, they might nail 1 or 2, but they don't get all 3. Okay, and to be quite honest with you, I bet you if we took a poll of all of our investors at passiveinvesting.com who are amazingly savvy, I would say probably 75 to 80% don't track their income and expenses. They have a general idea of what they need, but they're not tracking it. They're not leveraging technology to track. Okay. Another skill that investors need to create, especially starting off, but, especially as you grow, is creating that thesis and a plan. Okay. So really understanding your goals, your risk and timeline before you move forward. Okay. And then execution. A lot of people have trouble with execution on plans. And then network, it's all about relationships. Real estate is a relationship game. For me, that was one of the hardest lessons to learn because I was raised as an independent woman, meaning that I needed to do it all on my own. And it simply did not work out that way. When I learned to embrace operating in partnership in relationships, okay, creating win-win situations, that is when my portfolio exploded. All right. Okay. So that's kind of the core thing. Again, that's building, some of the habits we need to build there is continually asking our questions, especially if we're hitting a ceiling of achievement. How can we continue to come back to those 3 questions? Now let's talk about some basic building before we get into the math. Like, let's talk about when we look at our investments, we want to make sure that they are abiding by the pillars of wealth. Okay, now here's the thing. We might go into an investment that only has one or two pillars of wealth, but whenever that investment gets shaky, or if it goes south, or if the market turns, and that pillar is at risk, okay, we need to know that we chose to go into an investment that didn't have multiple pillars to sustain itself. Okay, so I break the 7 pillars up into 4 principles and 3 rules. The 4 principles is that we're looking for investments that preserve capital, create cash flow, create equity growth, and use equity levers, and then kick off some tax benefits for us. Okay, tax benefits are kind of the icing on the cake. They're the nice to haves, okay, but we don't want to go into a deal just for the tax benefits, because if that's what we're doing, we're giving up 3 of the 4 main pillars. Okay. So this is also for the 5 ways that you get paid in real estate: capital preservation, cash flow, equity growth, and tax benefits. Okay, so why give up ways to get paid? Now, if you also take your stocks and bonds and mutual fund investments and you peg them and evaluate them to these 4 pillars, or 7 pillars, the 4 principles and the 3 rules, you're going to find, they don't really meet that. They might get a teeny bit of cash flow, a little bit of equity growth. I get 0 tax benefits, my capital isn't preserved. You're going to start to see how the 1% really truly create their wealth, is because they're investing based on principles, not on headlines is usually what I say next, but investing on into more momentum type assets. Okay, so capital preservation, this is what we're looking for. We want to make sure that when we go into asset, that we're in a market, okay, that where the population's growing, jobs are diversified, income's growing, poverty's trending down, crime's trending down, that it's favorable for taxes, insurance, legal, okay, and that there's also other properties, comparable properties that are quite frankly valued higher than the one we're purchasing. Okay, at minimum, we want to make sure that that property has adequate reserves. I like to see properties with 6 to 12 months, somewhere in their reserves. Okay, but I also want to know where those reserves invested. Okay, I saw a couple of multifamily deals get on shaky ground last year, not because the operator didn't have enough reserves, it's because they put the reserves into the market, and then the market turned down on them. One operator put it into Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin went down on them. Okay, so that is something that you want to make sure to double check. You don't want your reserves to get invested into, maybe into a money market, or into a treasury note or something like that, something that's very low risk if they get invested at all. Okay, cash flow. Critical pillar number 2, okay? We want to make sure that this is being propped up for us, okay? Now, this is all critical when we get to our math, because we are looking for investments that are going to help us achieve the math that we want to see in our portfolio growth, okay? But to preserve the cash flow, we want to make sure we're looking at a conservative pro forma, okay? A lot of people say their underwriting is conservative, but not everybody actually executes like that. So we want to see that there's income growth, but that the operator is not saying there's going to be 10% in income growth whenever the market only dictates 3%. That's not aligned. Expense growth too. We don't want to see an operator that says, hey, our expenses are only going to grow 1 or 2% year over year. Okay, in COVID, we were proven wrong. Expenses jumped up in some cases 3, 5, 7% year over year. Okay. Then we want to take a look at vacancy, not just physical vacancy, but also economic vacancy. Who on the property is paying? Okay, what units are actually bringing in an income, or how many units are not bringing in an income in this case? We want to orient our returns when we're looking at cash flow, not around the preferred return, because guys, it's not a return, it's a hurdle. Okay, that is an equity hurdle. In this case, we want to orient around what's the cash on cash, because that's going to tell us the cash flow. We want to look for modest break-even occupancies, okay? Meaning that the occupancy on that property. And, a lot of the examples I'm using here are multifamily. You could even apply them to self-storage, but, we can even extrapolate this into car washes. If 30% of your customers evaporate, does the property still break even? Okay. Rental comps. We want to see, just like we wanted to see sales comps higher than the subject property for capital preservation. For cash flow, we want to see rental comps, okay, income comps higher than the subject property. Meaning we don't want to have to prove the market. We want to know the market is already proven. Okay, and then, distribution schedule. Now, this isn't necessarily about preserving capital or preserving cash flow, but it's important to you as far as like, do you get to take advantage of that cash flow monthly, quarterly, or on what time schedule? Then we got the third principle here, which is equity growth. Okay, is there a clear business plan here to increase the net operating income or the expected gross income of that asset? And we can do that by 3 levers: increasing income, decreasing expenses, or adding additional streams of income. Okay, sales comp still super important. Has the operator done the proper analysis, okay, to evaluate not just the returns, but the sensitivity? Like as the cap rate moves around, how does that affect the returns of the asset? Okay, do you understand the waterfall? Okay, do you understand when you're going to get paid? And in what order are you going to get paid? All right. And then fees. Do you understand the fees that could be charged to your deal? Okay, now I look at the returns on the deal net of all fees. However, I do care about the fees. I've seen a recent deal where the acquisition fee for an operator who is actually underperforming on other deals was 4.75%. I was amazed. Okay, so you want to understand, okay, like what is the market dictating for fees, and is it aligned with you? Okay, lower fees doesn't necessarily actually mean a better deal for you because the operator has to keep the lights on. But at the same time, we don't want them being the deal to death and essentially getting paid up front. We want them aligned with us as a limited partner. Okay, and then tax benefits. I know this is the darling child. A lot of the reasons why passive investors get into real estate, they're so attuned to the they get starry-eyed that real estate can, help offset their income through the use of depreciation. We can create generational wealth through 1031 exchanges. It's amazing, and it's the icing on the cake. But we do want to see tax benefits, especially in our equity deals. If we're looking at debt deals, we're not going to get we're giving up that pillar in order to get capital preservation and cash flow. Okay, so you're going to see why some of the more pillars you have, potentially the more money you could make. All right, now we talked about the 4 main pillars, okay, principles really. And then we got the 3 rules: smart use of leverage. Okay, we're looking at investments that have a good, high quality lender on them, a high quality loan. Okay, the LTV is very reasonable, ideally non-recourse. That the interest rate is either fixed or has is adjustable rate with a rate cap on it. There's extensions. We can continue to extend the business plan if needed. And then, especially in multifamily and self-storage, we might see interest only for, the early years of the project to help that project cash flow. All right. And then inflation hedging, that is another rule. That is why we love real estate. And real estate allows us to lock in debt today and pay it back with future devalued dollars. Okay, that's one way to look at inflation. Another way to look at inflation is that we have the ability to raise the income regularly and adjust expenses regularly and pass those through the project. Okay, now, again, I didn't want to launch into this conversation on like how to exactly retire in 7 years and get into all this math without you first understanding, what is one of the key habits that you need to master in order to move from employee to full-time real estate investor. And I didn't want you to I'd be remiss if I didn't have the conversation with you on the 7 pillars to build wealth, right? Because if we just jump into math, what would happen? I know some people on this call or some people that are going to watch this later on YouTube would go after the riskiest, the deal with the highest performing numbers and just plug them into their calculator and call it a day and be like, yay, I won, until the market changed on them and then they're losing. Okay. We want to understand how you can actually put these 7 pillars to use and choose investments wisely. Okay. And then let's create the math around that. All right. So when we're talking about the math, first you have to understand your goals, right? We had a couple people at the very beginning. Somebody was like, I'm in W-2, just starting off. Okay, right? You might initially be, your goal that you're striving for here is going to be probably closer to the security, vitality, independence, somewhere in that part of the range. Okay. But for somebody I had another person that said, I'm halfway there. Okay. You probably already know how much money you need, and you're probably aiming for the independence freedom categories. Here's the thing. If you're new to the investing world and you're just like, hey, I want to have financial freedom, but I'm in the starting blocks right now of this race. It's worthwhile for you to create milestones. Okay, kind of like eating an elephant, one bite at a time. We're going to create milestones here so you can feel like you're building momentum and progress. And then once you hit the milestone, we're going to move the goalpost. We're going to go for the next one. Okay, so what milestone of your financial journey are you trying to hit? I want you to go to the chat box and drop that in. Again, this boot camp is designed for you to make some decisions and realizations and not just sit back and listen. So where are you? What is your next milestone that you're hitting? Let's get more specific. Independence. Okay, awesome. Now, independence is for a lot of people could just be like, earning enough income from their passive portfolio to live their current lifestyle. Okay. For others, they might go, wait, my lifestyle's bloated. Okay. Let me do some work here and bring down the bloat in my lifestyle. And that makes my independence number so much easier to hit. Okay. When we talk about freedom, that's like the lifestyle that you want to have. Okay. So if you want to have the sports car or the second home, third home, fourth home, you want to do all, the fancy travels and eating out. I'm trying to think of other examples for you guys. That's going to be more along the freedom number. Okay. So really, what is the skill you have to learn how to do here is break down those numbers for each one of those categories so you know what your milestone achievements actually are. Somebody said, increase my net worth by 25%. Okay, cool. Which category, if you increase your income by 25%, which category would you hit? Another person said, generating 10K per month in passive income. Amazing. I love hearing that. Which milestone does that get you to? Okay. Name that milestone. I want to throw a reasonable after-tax reliable return over the long term. Yes, I just want the number you think is reasonable. Okay. I would love to have more clarity on that because if you need feedback from me, I would love to give it to you. Oh, all right. So the next thing we need to think about, not only which level of this journey are you at, what is your milestone that we're trying to hit and putting a dollar number to that, okay, is how quickly, what is your timeline to hit this, okay? Now, somebody who might be really close to retirement within 5 years, and you're just like, man, I got to hit it in 5 years. Okay. Maybe that'll work. Maybe it won't, but are you taking the consistent and persistent habits that over time that will get you to that number? That is the most important thing that we want to develop here. Okay. So of course, we all want time on our side. The earlier that we can start this, I'm starting, my daughter's 12. We started passive investing with her at age 8. Okay. We're teaching her those skills. She has time on her side. I hope she keeps it up. If she lives in my house, she will. But where are you? What is your time horizon here? Not how quickly you want to hit your number, but what is your overarching investment time horizon here? Oh, somebody's jumping ahead on me. Yes, we will get to ROT in a second. Okay. What kind of, somebody said, I need to hit it in 3 years. Is that because like you want to hit it in 3 years? Like, but which milestone do you need to hit in 3 years? Okay. Bill, don't spill the beans for me here. Okay. What kind of risk are you willing to take to hit that timeline? So if somebody says, I need to have my goal hit in 3 years, what kind of risk are you willing to? That's a really short timeline. Where are you on your milestones? Okay. If you're moving from independence to freedom, cool. If you're moving from security to vitality, awesome. If you're going from zero and want financial freedom in 3 years, it's not to say that it can't be done, but we might either have to pump a lot of capital into that system or you're going to have to take a lot of risk. Okay, so we need to align the risk here with your timeline and where you're at on your milestones. Okay. And then what is your return on your time? This is something that I encourage everybody to keep track of, because if you're keeping track of your return on your time, all of those activities that you're spending, investing it passively, investing in other real estate activities, it's going to do two things for you. One, you're going to have everything tracked if you decide to get your rep status, your real estate professional status. Awesome. Now, if you're going to be a full-time passive investor, guess what you don't need? You don't need reps, okay? But you're going to be able to calculate your return on your time, right? And we'll get into the calculations of return on time here in a second, but it's super powerful to help you understand, especially if you have active real estate holdings. Should I just continue doing these activities? What I really want is over here in the passive side. Okay, awesome. So how do you get your plan started? Now I'm going to show you a couple models. This one is a model, an equity model, or excuse me, no, this is the debt model. Okay, so I wanted to show you that you can do this, say like investing in debt funds or in equity. You can do it both ways. Okay, so here, somebody might be able to, transition. Maybe they had like $500,000 sitting in a self-directed IRA account. Okay, and they're just like, man, I'm done with the Wall Street casino. Okay, great. We take that, we place that maybe in year one, into our PIC debt fund investment. And at $500,000, now you're earning a 9% preferred return. Okay. And you're getting $45,000 annually income. Now that might not unlock financial freedom for you, but watch to see what the math happens. If you're continuing to contribute to that retirement account year over year, plus the cash flow you're getting, we get compounding, right? What did Albert Einstein say? That compounding is the eighth wonder of the world. Okay. And then eventually in 5 years, we start hitting the 10% tier. Our total invested has grown from $500,000 now to 1.1 million, kicking off $116,000 of income for us. Okay. And then by year 7, this is just in using debt. Okay. You're in the lowest position in the capital stack. In theory, the lowest return too. Okay. You're in first, at least with our fund, you're in first lien position, zero leverage. Okay, you have liquidation if you want to. And this actually does not take into account compounding within our fund. This is just if you took the cash every single year, okay, into your bank account. In year 7, you're going to have $161,000 annually. Like you could stop contributing $100,000 and then just let this ride and draw $161,000 annually of income. Okay. Now that combined with like any retirement that you might get or Social Security might get, like, this is amazing, right? This is, I mean, a lot of people would really love to retire on that type of income. Now you could contribute more, accelerate these numbers. Okay. You could contribute less and take a longer time horizon. All right. So I just wanted you to see the math, that the math is possible. Okay. Now, when we talk about return on time, this is where, people kind of need to start wrapping their head around it. Could I make more if I took all of that money and went and bought my own single family rentals? Sure. or if you went into, started your, your own, invest in your own multifamily building, possibly. Okay. But when you invest passively like this, it's using maybe 1 hour a month of your time. That's if you actually read thoroughly the reports and the financials of everything. And so over 7 years, the amount of money that you're accruing, okay, your return on your time is actually $8,000 an hour. Okay. And if you stretch that out to year 10, you're actually would have 1.9 million, okay, earning a return for you. Now, here's the thing. Some people are like, wow, Whitney, I do not have $500,000 to start off with. Great. If you have $100,000 in year one, by year 7, you could have $90,000 in cash flow. Who would love to have $90,000 in cash flow that came in like clockwork? I would. Okay. Awesome. So this is how to get your plan with debt. Now it gets a little bit more complicated with passive equity investments. Okay. Here we're looking at a model. Okay. Say for an investment that's kicking off the 7% cash on cash. Okay. Not just, we put in a 7% pref because, we want to see it, that number stretched out over the life of the deal. But ideally, we want it actually kicking off the cash on cash. So again, same thing. You put $500,000 in year one. Okay, you're continuing to reinvest you get $35,000 in cash flow. You're reinvesting back into the deal. Okay, adding your $100,000. This year you added $100,000 every single year. And then by year 5, okay, this one's a little more murky because deals exit at different times. You're not quite 100% control on when those deals exit. The operator is, okay? So, but if we're modeling this, I wanted you to see that you can actually achieve your financial returns here. So by year 5, we're at 63,000 in annual cash flow. Year 7, we're at 104. Okay. Now we have to wait for projects to exit. Okay. So if we stretch this out to year 15 and had 3 rounds of projects, okay, we'd have 3 million in equity. Very different than the 1.9 in equity that we would have, say if we were just straight note investing, okay? But we'd be earning almost just the same in cash flow. Our net worth would be greater and our cash flow would be almost the same, okay? Now, you could get this started with a much lower investment, say like $100,000 in year 1 and added $100,000 every year, and then you'd be at $60,000 in cash flow. Again, the return on time, let's say you spent 36 hours a year reading through updates, quarterly financials, reviewing your K1, which I think is super, super high number there. But your return on time over 7 years, you'd have, your return on time is almost $3,500 an hour. Now, how does that compare to if you were an active investor? So I pulled some numbers from my portfolio here. You have to know your goals. For me, when I was an active investor, one of the big reasons why I started reallocating a lot of my portfolio to passive investments is because I wanted to boost my dollar per hour that I was spending. If I was spending my time being a full-time real estate investor, I actually had to spend less hours earning the same amount of money, as opposed to more hours if I was having to go find the deal, go find the loan, find the property manager, manage the property manager, take care of any insurance claims that might happen. Then if I decided to sell, managing all the sale activities, and then, working with my tax professional to help her understand all of the different things that I did across all my properties that year. I would say I was getting about somewhere between $450 to $555 an hour. Okay. Currently, I'm probably earning closer to $3,500 to $4,000 an hour of my activities. So that is just one metric to keep track of. Okay. Now, we covered the 6 different pillars. The 7th is you have to invest with experts, people that know whatever strategy you're going into, they have to know the strategy. They have to have the expertise of performance. They have to have the ability to secure credit and lending, pull investor capital, and a team to actually manage your investments. Guys, if you're here live, we're about to start our Ask Me Anything part of the show. All right, I saw some questions coming in the Q&A box. I have to actually exit my screen in order to see them. Sorry about that. So we're going to exit there. What is the assumption for reinvesting the distributions? Are you leaving it in cash and waiting until the end of the year to have enough to put into another debt investment? I actually, whenever I modeled everything, like I compared my numbers, my compounding numbers, not only like on my spreadsheet, but also like I went on the IRS, like compound calculator. I mean, it's pretty negligible, difference. I think if you wait like longer than a year, then yeah, you're going to, you lose a lot of traction. However, I would say, at least if we're talking about the debt fund, in our debt fund, you can increase your investment in $1,000 increments. So every time you have $1,000 to invest, why not go ahead and throw it in? Okay, so you're just continuing to add to your account if that's what you want to do. So whereas I know other debt funds that you can invest in, it might be, say, like a $75,000 initial investment, and now you have to save another $75,000 to get in, to place another investment. To me, like they're just the operators leaving money on the table. So if you're gonna do ours, just every $1,000 that you accrue in your bank account, maybe it takes you, I don't know, month, 2 months, 3 months. Like you can just shoot us a quick little email saying I want to increase my capital account, and there you go. But whether you reinvest immediately, the best way to optimize would be to allow it to compound into the debt fund. That would be the cleanest, the simplest, the most optimized return-wise. The next optimized way would be every $1,000, put it back into the debt fund, and then the least optimized would be like every year. So totally up to you. Will I send a recording of this? As always, all of our recordings will be posted on our YouTube page. So you can go to passiveinvestingdot.com on YouTube, and you can find this recording. Give us like about 24 hours to get those posted. Okay, so your calculations assume cash and cash distributions in line with the preferred return percent in the current real estate market. Most multifamily projects are either making capital calls or have halted distributions. Any comments? Well, yeah, I mean, so of course, if a deal kind of like, pause distribution, if, and it doesn't even matter whether it's in a multifamily world and passive distribution, passive investments, or if you're holding your own real estate investments and you have a capital call, like the HVAC went out, or you have roof damage, or the tenant just ghosts you and like leaves. Those are all those things happen on whether you hold your own real estate or whether you're in a multifamily deal. Now, we saw the multifamily market, especially from a lending perspective, and rising insurance costs just get hammered in the past couple of years. Yes. Okay. But it's not to say that those things can't happen in single family real estate. I know for me, that was one of the core reasons is I was calculating my return on time, and my return on time went from $550 an hour down to like $200 an hour because I was dealing with so many issues and insurance claims and, underperformance on my property. And I'm like, I'm out. I kept like the best performers and I got rid of everything else. Okay, so the comment is, yes, that will impact your numbers, okay? You're gonna have, while we can model the numbers, okay, you're gonna have to, one way you can do that is just like you would adjust your cash flow, how much you're reinvesting year over year, Okay. And then, that's going to affect your future growth. That's why I showed you the debt model, because when I've done this presentation before, I never showed anybody the debt model. Okay. Now the debt is not to say the debt model can't be fraught with issues as well, especially if you're writing your own notes. Okay. You have a borrower that stops paying, right? Okay. You have to foreclose on a property. Like, you can have issues there, but that's why I personally have allocated a certain part of my portfolio to debt fund investments to create a core part of my portfolio that just kicks off cash flow like clockwork. That's it. Okay. Now I might take that cash flow and it might not go right back into my debt fund investing model, maybe just a certain percentage, but now I'm taking that cash flow. Say I have it kicking off $200,000 a year. For me and my lifestyle, more than plenty for me to like have financial freedom on. And then I take that and I go invest into my other momentum investments. Okay. So you're going to need to kind of massage the numbers, the model to kind of fit what you want, your goals, your risk, your timeline. So happy to expand on that, AP, if you need me to. Let's see. Looks like ground up real estate developments may not fit these principles, especially due to lack of cash flow during building phase and early lease up. Love to hear thoughts about ground up development investments. Okay, so let's do a quick little evaluation. Let me get my PowerPoint pulled back up, guys. Okay. I know there's other questions coming in, guys. I want to show you this because I want to build the skill for you, not just tell you my thoughts. Let's build the skill, because I could tell you my thoughts and then I've done you a disservice. Okay, so let's kick this into slideshow mode. If we are working with a development deal, and guys, I know that this isn't like not the pretty format here, but I want to be able to see the questions that might be coming in for this. Okay, you guys work with me? Does ground up development preserve capital? You guys tell me, does it preserve capital? Yes, no, maybe. Depends on leverage and risk. Yep, depends. It depends, right? If I'm coming in early and the project hasn't been entitled at all, and that's a huge risk. Now, here's the thing. The more problems I get to solve, the better, the more I should get paid, right? If I can pull it off, right? But maybe, yeah, it might preserve capital. Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 4, let's give it like a 2. We'll give it kind of halfway because we don't know about it. Does it give cash flow? Yes, no. Ground up development. So the answer was in the question, guys, especially due to the lack of cash flow. So in this deal that they're looking at, it's not giving any cash flow, not during the building phase. Okay, so you're going to, let's say the project's completely entitled and you're going 12 to 24 months without cash flow. So you gave up a wealth pillar for 12 to 20, or probably more closer to like 18 to 24 months. So you got to cross your fingers. Nothing happens in 18 to 24 months, like interest rates going up and the seller not being able to exit that property. Okay. All right. Does it preserve equity? Does it take advantage of equity growth and levers? I would say yes. Probably. Okay, cool. You guys chime in. Again, we're building the skill. I want you to know how to do this. Even if you answer wrong, we'll reorient. Okay, yeah, probably. If we can successfully exit the property, we're probably going to build some equity here, right? Because we're taking a piece of dirt improving it, and then we're going to sell it for more because we did all the work to improve it. So it's probably going to take great advantage of those levers. All right. Does it get tax benefits? Aha, tricky question, guys. Does ground up development get just plain vanilla ground up development? Okay. Okay, so it depends on how it's organized, essentially in the end. It may be able to take advantage of depreciation long-term gain. Maybe. Okay, depending on, how the operator is orienting to that. Okay. But you might not be able to get to take that in year one. And if the project falls through, then you don't get it at all. Okay. So yes, so let's give it like a 2 or 3. So you can rank it 2 or 3. So capital preservation 2, 0 on cash flow. Equity levers, if we can exit, we can give it somewhere 3.5, 4. Tax benefits, 2 or 3. Okay. Smart use of leverage. Let's go to our smart use of leverage slide. Okay. We were taking some high risk leverage on this deal to do a development deal. Okay. Very rarely are you going to get a fixed rate. Okay. You're probably not going to be, you're probably going to need to have a higher loan to value. There's probably some sort of recourse you're going to have to provide on this. Okay. And then, we got our inflation hedging. So you're giving up a couple wealth pillars here, potentially to do the ground up development, right? So I personally don't do it because it doesn't match my goal. My goal is to place capital into lower risk investments, not low risk. Okay, I'm willing to take some risk like core plus, maybe some value add, but the development and entitlement, that side of the spectrum is just too risky for me. Okay, but everybody's different. Okay, was that helpful, Mr. and Mrs. Anonymous? Hopefully that was helpful. For the option of allowing distributions to compound in the fund, are these distributions taxable? Great question. I would have to get back to you. Since you didn't get it back, my gut says no, but I would have to get back to you. So Anna, I would love for you to send me an email at whitney@passiveinvesting.com, and that'll fall in my inbox, and I will get back to you and figure that out because I would love to know the answer to that too. Awesome. Okay, guys, we got about another minute before we wrap up. Okay, quick little temperature check. Was this useful? Did you guys find this session useful? What did you love? What would you love to see? What was your biggest ahas that you took away from today? Okay. What is like one thing that you're just like, wow, I need to incorporate that into my investments or how I invest? It is super powerful. This is a super powerful process for us to like actually take the learning and make some quick moves on it right now. All right, guys, I know it's noon my time. A lot of people are like transitioning to their next meeting. I just wanted to thank you so much for taking the time, for being here with me and investing in yourself. All right, guys, take care. We will see you next week for our regular masterclass and then next month for our boot camp, where we are going to talk about end of the year tax moves. All right, guys, take care. Oh, sorry, Kunal, I just saw your question. If you're still here, I'm happy to answer it. I've been investing in REI syndications for the last 5 years, and I'm about halfway through my FI journey. Can you speak about car washes and how they fit into the risk reward spectrum? Well, it depends on how you're investing in car washes, what type of car washes you're investing in. So if you're investing in our model, which is the express model in kind of like more secondary, tertiary markets, where we're acquiring property and doing a little bit of ground up development, If we're acquiring, it's kind of like we're optimizing an already existing business. But kind of the issue there with the acquisition is those tend to be a little bit older car washes, and so they might have equipment that hasn't been maintained as meticulously as we would want to have it maintained. So that is something we'd suss out in the due diligence process for sure. Okay, and then you have to like retrain all the staff. You might have staff turnover. Now, if you're doing ground up development, now you get to do, build it how exactly you want it, hire the exact team that you would like to have, and do that immediately from the very beginning. But now you're taking the ground up risk. And just how ground up is it? Is the land already entitled? Does it already have sewer and water to it? We try to find property that is like ready, like to diggable dirt, essentially ready to go. And we ideally don't even have to pay the water and sewer taps. They're already, it's already zoned and entitled appropriately. So that can help take a lot of risk off the table. The biggest, once you kind of solve those two initial issues, either through acquisitions or development, it's going to be actually scaling the business. And you want to scale between two models, not only just subscription, you still want to, and this was a lesson that we learned. We were super efficient in getting everybody over to the subscription model, but we needed people coming in too that were just buying, one-off car washes. Okay, so you need some sort of blend. Okay, it's kind of like on an apartment complex. You probably, you could have your lower income tax abated units that, where that person's signing a 3, 5, 7-year lease. And then you have your people that are paying a higher dollar amount but are turning over like every single year, right? So you want to have some sort of income blend balance, especially on a business like that. But so did you choose the right, if you're doing ground up development, did you choose the right location? Do you have the right traffic count coming by? Are you optimizing your income in all the ways that you possibly can? And we have made amazing headway across all of our car washes on that. We have learned so much. We were positioned properly at the beginning of the hold, and now like we're learning. I think we're gonna, all of our car washes are slated to be at their pro forma income by year 3, even given this like past 2 years of recessionary environment. So that's super cool. And then it comes down to like, exit. Can you exit? Like, what is the strategy for exit? Are you selling each one individually, or are you, rolling them up and doing a private equity exit? Are you trying to do IPO? That would be the other risk, because I encourage all of our investors and this is how we underwrite, is that we want to underwrite and be able to exit each one individually, even though our exit strategy is entirely different. And not all funds are created like that. Some of the funds are that are out there that I know people can invest in are taking huge risks with investor capital. And if they can't do a large private roll-up or an exit to a REIT, it's going to be a bloodbath on people losing their capital. And I'm nervous for people. We're taking a very conservative approach. We'll hold on to them. If they're cash flowing and performing, we're going to hold on to them until we get to scale and we can possibly do one of those larger exits. But if not, if that's just not in the cards for us, we can sell every single one of them individually. So, and that's what you want to see. Yeah, you're welcome. Somebody said thank you. Let's see here. Awesome. I think I got through all the questions today. Guys, if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to me. You guys have my contact information. And otherwise, we will see you next week on our masterclass and next month on our boot camp. Take care, guys.